Our next guest has some safety plays. It is time to go off the charts with Chris Verrone of Strategas. Chris, what are you watching?
Hey, Melissa. Well, let's just think about the bigger picture. We have small caps that are down 11% from the highs. We had tech come down 12. I think the question out there, is there another shoe to drop? We all know you can get corrections for any reason, but I don't think you get major tops for any reason. And I want to show you this first table we brought along. Despite the corrections we've seen in small caps, despite the correction we've seen in tech, 95% of the S&P 500 is still presently above the 200-day. I just want to compare that to some prior tops. In October of 07, only 30% of the S&P was above the 200. In March of 2000, it was only 50%. So as you get to these market tops, you tend to get participation getting very narrow. That simply has not been the case despite these pauses we've seen over the last several weeks. So I think we're probably okay structurally. It doesn't mean you can't get a pause. Let's focus on what the leadership here is. And I think what's been very telling, and Tim touched on this as well, as parts of the market has softened, other parts have actually firmed. I think industrials are a great example of that here. Industrials consolidated for the better part of the last couple months, but they've re-accelerated here, particularly in relative terms. The improvement in things like aerospace and defense are notable. The improvement in things like building products also very notable here. So industrials are telling us, even in a little bit of a sloppy tape, they're still leadership. Same story with the home builders here. And I know there's so much discussion about at what level do bond yields hurt the market? At what level do bond yields hurt home builders? Well, it's not here. This is the XHB, home builders, building products, home retail. This is making new relative strength highs, new absolute highs versus the S&P. So I think the way that the home builders have held up here, look at Pulte, Lennar, D.R. Horton, says the market's probably okay. Focus on these areas of leadership. And then lastly, I do want to acknowledge kind of in this defensive group of names that you have seen some improvement in the consumer staples. You had about 75% of the staples make a 1-month high this week. That's a modest improvement. I don't think these names are going to be durable leadership, but I at least want to acknowledge the momentum that you've seen here. And if you look at some of these names, tobacco has been one area that has been kind of in our work as one that's getting better. Philip Morris, ticker PM, I think is an example of that. It's been trying to break up from this 90 level for 3 or 4 years. We think it probably does. But listen, overall, the market's been a little sloppy under the surface. We think we're okay. Focus on where the leadership is. Industrials, home builders, some staples are a little bit better.
But the uptrend's intact, Chris?
Yeah, I think, listen, you just don't get major tops when 95% of the S&P is above the 200. That's overbought. You can correct, but that's not where your major tops historically come from. It comes from big narrowing, and that just has not been the case.
Chris, good to see you as always.
Good seeing you.
Chris Verrone of Strategas. Bonawyn, do you like any of Chris's leadership ideas?
I do. I really think you hit the nail on the head there. And the word that jumped out to me was momentum. And what you're seeing, picking the industrials, right? We've all said this before. These are value names that the valuations are a bit stretched, but they are now trading with momentum. And for that reason, I couldn't agree with him anymore.
Yeah, Philip Morris, that is one stock we haven't talked about in a long time, international smoking. Tim, I'll go to you on this. I feel like at one point you had owned this, trafficked in it.
Yeah. I trafficked is I don't know, be careful. We're getting back to like risky business stuff here. but yes, I do think the story for Philip Morris, even for Altria, this isn't entirely a tobacco story. This is a yield story. These are consumer plays. There's certain parts of the world, unfortunately, smoking is not been cut back the way it has been in the Western world. So I like Philip Morris. I like the chart for sure. I like the investment strategy, and I think that and Altria still work.
Yeah. How about you, Nadine? What do you like that Chris went over? Or what do you don't like? What do you not like?
Definitely the industrials. I don't like the staples. I get concerned, as we've seen before. It's a bond-like security, staples are. When rates go up, they tend to go down, similar to utilities. So I think you have to be really careful and know the fundamentals if you're going to pick out staples versus broad brush buying staples. So I'd be careful there. Same with utilities. I do like industrials. I like the materials that go into industrials and their services. So I think he's right on some of the momentum there. But you have to layer on the yield story here, which are going higher, and you have to be careful about some of the plays I think you talked about.
All right.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.